A new CNN poll on how voters are feeling about politics in the 2026 congressional elections resulted in mixed results for the Democratic Party. Democrats are more energized than Republicans ahead of the midterms. 50% of Republican and Republican leaning registered voters are extremely motivated to vote, while 72% of Democratic and Democratic leaning registered voters say the same. The DNC's problem, though, is that voters are much less enthusiastic about the party. Only 28% of Americans polled have a favorable view of the Democratic Party. That's the lowest number for Democrats in the history of CNN's polls, going back to 1992. So since last November's elections, the Democrats have been struggling to figure out how to regroup and regain political power. Some party leaders are now turning to social media to reach out to voters. Take a look.
Here are the ground rules. This is family talk. Straight talk with leaders, activists, and friends from across the country. You know, my grandfather used to tell me when I got back from college, I don't want to hear all that fancy talk. Speak it plain. What that means is I'm going to push our guests, but they're going to push me. Let's get to the heart of the issues. At our table, we can discuss ideas candidly.
And the man right there, former DNC Chairman Jamie Harrison, joins us now. His new podcast, At Our Table, debuted this week. Former Chair, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Let's start at the high level. What do you hope to achieve with this new podcast?
Well, really, what I hope is that we can get to frank conversations, real talk, no talking points, and just to be our authentic selves. And I think that's what the American people want right now. They want, they want their political leaders to just be real, to just address the issues that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and to hear from them, to hear the frustrations, to hear the things that they are excited about, the things that they're working on, but to do it in such a way that is not just so poll tested, that is not just so, something that you pull off of a shelf, but that is really rooted in the frustrations, the joys, the pains that the American people are going through. And I think if we do that as Democrats, I think we'll be in a much better situation.
Do you think of this podcast as being the Joe Rogan, say, of the left?
No, I'm a little upset at that. A reporter, actually, that I chatted with put that in the headline. I never mentioned Joe Rogan's name ever. What this is just going to be Jamie Harrison having really good family talk with some of the leaders that are shaping our policy on the Democratic side. And again, it's allowing our members, it's allowing our leaders, it's allowing our community of activists to talk about the things that they're working on and to do it in real talk that is not so canned, that is not so talking pointish. And to get their perspectives. One of the biggest frustrations I have about politics is that, you often make people into caricatures, right? They're one and two dimensional folks because either you're defined by your allies or you're defined by your opponents or both. Why don't we just hear from people in their own words? Like instead of, books and reporting with a bunch of unnamed sources, let's hear directly from the person about what they're thinking about and why they're motivated to do what they're doing.
Now, Jamie, I watched a lot of your interview with Governor Tim Walz. That's the first interview you guys published. A lot of talk about what went wrong in 2024. I've seen part of your upcoming interview with Hunter Biden, who's one of your next guests. Now, I know you have plenty of others lined up, but why these two voices first? Is this podcast going to be looking backwards?
No, it's going to look back. It's going to look forward. It's going to talk about the things that are really important to people right now. But, Tim Walz was here in South Carolina, and I thought it was a wonderful opportunity to just think about the last election, the things that we didn't do right in the last election, things that he was frustrated about. And so that we learn lessons from that so that we do better going forward in the future. And I think that's really, really important. Often as I start to think about 2026, I am also looking back to previous elections. What are some things that we did that worked well? Many times I've said to a number of reporters, I think that 2026 is shaping up to be very similar to 2006. In 2006, I was executive director of the House Democratic Caucus. And many of the things that we saw going on then, Republican overreach legislatively with George Bush was trying to privatize Social Security. We're seeing Trump with a massive overreach in terms of gutting Medicaid, cutting food assistance. This massive recruitment effort by Democrats in 2006, you're seeing similar happening right now, but also the anxiety of the American people, the frustration that is building. I think you're seeing that, and you saw that just in your poll. That there's a lot of enthusiasm and energy on the Democratic side because people are frustrated with where things are going, and the only way that they know to address that frustration is to go to the polls.
Well, to that point, you've had already a lot of presidential, or I should say potential presidential hopefuls come through South Carolina recently, including Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. I want you to take a listen to what he said at a recent event, and I want to get your reaction afterwards.
The Democratic Party definitely has a job to do to re-earn the faith of the American people. We can't be running after every outrage of the day. The most important thing we can do is be laser focused on people's jobs, their next doctor's appointment, the roads and bridges they drive, the school they drop their kids off at, and whether they feel safe in their community. That's the way we earn back the faith of those people who are down on the party.
Do you agree with that Democrats shouldn't be chasing every outrage?
Well, I agree that Democrats just need to fight back on everything. What I've heard from so many folks as I've gone across the country these last few months as a post chair is that people are frustrated because they don't feel as though the Democratic Party is fighting as hard for them as Donald Trump is fighting against them. And that's what they want at this time. They want us to take those values that we talk so well about, and we're so eloquent about the democratic values, which we believe are American values that we believe in. But what they want to know is that we are going to utilize everything within our toolkit, within our power, to fight back, to protect those values, to protect the rights that American citizens have. And I think when we demonstrate that, and I think you see it from Hakeem Jeffries, House Dems are unified. They are fighting back. But when we see more and more of that, we will move better and up in the polls.
Jamie Harrison, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing the news about your new podcast. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.